Why are we zoomed in?
I don't know, it zoomed it all the way.
Right, we saw Divergent and it was Divergent.
Everyone else saw it weeks ago.
Yeah, we just seen it.
So we're not expecting our opinion to have any weight in anyone going to see it or not.
Brad, you're wrong. It's not good.
It's really, really slow.
Fucking stupid.
Okay,
I wished I was watching Logan's Run.
so there's this partially thought out dystopia where everybody in the human race is divided into 5 factions. The clever one, the farmers, the people who devote their lives to helping people but also run the government, which is stupid.
The civil servants.
Yep. The other ones that I can't remember.
The truth tellers, I don't know exactly what that means.
People who tell the truth and apparently are lawyers, which is
Lawyers.
another contradiction.
Lawyers and bureaucrats.
And finally, the jocks, who are apparently
then
the
you got
police
the-
force and the army making this a military state.
And yeah, when you become of age, you can either join another faction or you go to stay in the faction you were born in, and then they train you. And if you're not good enough to be in that faction, they kick you out, and you have no chance of joining other factions. So you've got
No, they stated that wasn't the way things are. That's a new rule brought in, and that was to do with this woman trying to take over everything.
Yeah.
So there's no way to you don't automatically become factionless. You can't start.
Probably didn't want to waste resources on soldiers who couldn't
No,
actually do up the task.
this was the first group to become factionalist if they fail.
Yeah.
So what happens if you failed beforehand? You tried again with another faction?
No,
Probably got the worst assignments.
You probably just got either shit assignments or extended training.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, one of Czar's biggest issues was that Lake Michigan disappeared.
Yeah, I was spent ages looking for pictures for where Lake Michigan is, because this is set in Chicago and there's a bit of a lake there. And then I finally accepted that Lake Michigan had indeed disappeared, but I'm fairly sure that you couldn't get rid of Lake Michigan without turning that entire area into a desert. Because
Rainfall, there's enough rainfall in that area to keep it green.
It's one of the largest lakes in North America.
One of my biggest issues was 5 factions that are shown it several times to have lots
It's
of
bigger than the Irish Sea.
The 5 factions are shown to have lots of interaction with each other, and there's friends who go across factions, and this is my father, he is in charge of talking to people from this faction, and blah 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 blah. But then it's like, oh, I'm your mother, not Katniss, what's her name, Triss? Even though Beatrice is a cool name, I love the name Beatrice. But, oh, I'm your mother, come and talk to me in secret, because if we're caught talking to your mother, even though cross-faction friendships exist, we'll get in trouble.
No, I think the point there was she was supposed to be, what was the grey ones? Abgent? The civil servants, I'm just going to call them. The point is, she was supposed to be a civil servant, and they were already under a shit ton of scrutiny.
Also, the factions were stupidly named. They were like the Abajabi, the Abajab, the Abja, and the Dauntless.
Yeah. That was the only one that really applied.
The society, they have set up things so they have like an entire subsection of society, probably like 1/5 or to 1/10 of the society, who are not allowed to have a job. So there's like, mandated homelessness and, not being allowed to do anything. So this is making one section of their society entirely useless. This is the problem with caste systems. You can have people who don't fit in some area, and so you're creating an entire section who do nothing and are not allowed to do anything. So
there's no Hufflepuff.
Okay, but actually, that's another issue with this movie. The Divergent are people who, on the test, they give you this test, it's drug-induced hallucination, where a dog attacks you. And there's some objects on tables. If you pick the meat and throw it, you join some caste. If you pick up the knife and kill the dog, you become gauntlets. Yes, gauntlets. That's the stupidest thing ever.
Thing. I'm going to assume that it's expanded upon in the book, but I don't want to.
But here's the thing: if you magically break the test, you're divergent. But that means that you don't fit in the caste system, which means that you're one of the homeless people.
You're too good for the caste system, therefore we're not going to let you have any part in our society.
You don't have individuality.
You're too good for
question the logic of this caste system.
This is like a baby's first libertarian tract, but not commenting on economics. It is simply, it's like society is there to put you into a box, and if you break it outside of a box, they're going to punish you. Therefore, but you're special, and you must break out of the box because you're special.
Are we talking about this in the literal sense when she's in the glass full of water?
No, subjective and non-literal as well. Abstract sense too. This is very much sort of like this is for girls who are want to be reinforced that they're special, and that everyone else just wants to conform, and society is bad.
Yeah, if you don't fit into a clique in school exactly, you're special. But here's the
Just
thing.
like everyone else.
The main character in this is entirely reactionary. She never makes a decision for herself.
Yeah.
It's you can watch her being saved by this girl or this guy or the guy who whenever you're in love with me now, I touched your skin.
Oh yeah, sweet Jesus.
What?
Any physical contact, regardless of how small, was stressed to be so sexually fucking dripped.
Tattoo fetish.
It was fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, and they have these awful tattoos that are apparently applied through some sort of electrolyte patch. It's like, I want that tattoo.
In the
You can
80s.
only
It's like chrome plating.
you can only buy her in the catalogue.
And it's done in the 80s, for sci-fi 80s for some
Don't
reason.
you realise creative is Divergent talk?
Shut up.
And, okay, she's...
Here's
completely-
one.
She's
This is one that really annoyed me. For a film called Divergent, there were 3 diversions, one of which was a background character just so he could get killed.
There was a 4th near the start.
Who?
Some guy who got dragged off.
I don't remember that.
I think there was.
No.
Yeah.
I stopped paying attention.
Right, anyway, the thing is, they make a big deal of the divergence and talk about how the blue ones, the lawmakers, are hunting them down, but we never see it. They tell us it's happening, and they assume we're going to accept it. We
Quite a few
never,
times it tells us happening.
Yeah, they tell us repeatedly, but never actually show divergence being hunted. There are only 3 that we know of, and one is just there to show that magical Deus Ex Machina doesn't work on the divergent.
Also, here's the thing as well. The gauntlets, whatever the fuck.
The
this-
Unsullied.
The black people. No, not the black people. I'm not racist! The people who wear black and fight each other all the
That's
time.
not racist, they wear black.
And leap off everything.
It's a valid descriptive term.
They're really good at being soldiers, doing dangerous things for no fucking reason.
Yeah, the people, the
Yeah, they're the
gauntlets.
French military, they do
It's-
parkour.
It's the stupidest idea in the world. It's like, okay, you've chosen to join the Dauntlets, so you're going to sleep in this co-ed bedroom with absolutely no personal space. In fact, the toilets are just in a line right beside each other in the main room, and the shower is just a big shower pad in the main room. There's nowhere to get changed. There's nowhere to shit. Basically, yeah, we're going to strip all your dignity away, burn all your old shit, wear this black stuff, come and get trained very poorly in hand-to-hand combat in only one stance that seems to come from some sort of rip-off of Muay Thai. Oh, by the way, you should be aggressive in this one. I'll take up a defensive stance. No, fight aggressively. Defensive stance. Stupid girl. You were told how to kill him. You failed.
The defensive and the offensive stance were the fucking same.
Yeah, there was no offensive stance.
And
But
she-
the military are basically trained to be
Also-
idiots.
They seem to stop training them after they passed their first test.
Yeah, they stopped. It's like
They just suddenly stopped the military discipline.
you're gonna be our military elite. So here's some basic hand-to-hand combat: how to shoot a gun and how not to throw a knife, because we're all throwing across their body instead of straight down, and they were using wrist throws, which is entirely stupid. But anyway, enough about how I know how to throw a knife.
Also,
Actually,
one capture the flag exercise.
yes, one capture the flag exercise that they didn't even complete. It was just get the flag, not bring it back to base.
Yeah.
But the military, they're trained in all this shit for like a week, and then their entire shtick is that they do everything dangerously. It's like, how do we catch a train? Well, we climb up the pole to the L train, then run across a 2-foot wide platform, catching up with the train, and jump onto it while it's still moving. Woo,
and then we
jocks!
leap out
Anyone
of
else
it and
think that train is very poorly designed to be able to open the doors while it's travelling at that speed?
Yeah. And
See,
this is
I think they ran out of money when they were building the Undauntless train stops. Also,
this
100 years.
That's our talk. She hasn't spoken yet.
Sorry.
This woman is so reactionary that, okay, one of the people who says her, she's like super powered military person who is amazingly smart and amazingly other things and, kills shit. But one of the people who says her is her dad who'd never held a gun at any time in his life, who
And
actually
takes
kills
down
6
his-
guys.
He's like, I'm a pacifist. Oh, I'm dead.
We didn't even get to see him shot.
If you get shot, if you are outgunned by white Mahatma Gandhi, you're maybe not the best military person in the world.
Hey, that's not fair. He wasn't shown to be a paedophile.
Also, do you notice that no matter where they get shot, they bled out the mouth?
Yeah. But,
Every single one of them.
And why the fuck are they using these special, training, make you feel like you're shot but not actually get shotguns?
For
In the
training
actual
exercise,
fight,
it makes sense.
No, for the actual fight, they're using the same kind of gun. Why not use
No, but don't you
actual
see,
guns?
it was blue, therefore it was lethal.
No, but why don't they use actual guns, which I'm sure would be easier to build?
why not use paintball?
Also, did you notice that they only ran out of ammo when it was convenient for the plot?
Yes, but that's standard action movie bullshit.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
There was a part in which to reload these,
One thing, there was a knife throwing scene, and this guy missed the target. As you know, it takes a good 100 or so thrown knives to actually learn how to throw a knife. I'm sorry, I have to say that. I know how to throw knives. I was trained. But crime of the week, if you want to throw a knife at somebody, throw it straight down and aim for the centre of the mass of their body. Make sure that the knife is going point first towards them. If you're about 7 foot away, you want to do a quarter spin. If you're about 11 foot away, you want to go for a half spin. Now, enough about that, but there's this guy and he misses the target, as you would on your first day of learning how to throw a knife. So the idiot military guy, he's like, I'm Jay Courtney, I'm super trained in military, so I have piercings all over my body to act as targets that you can punch me in and it's really fucking gonna hurt me. He's like, well, you're shit, go and pick up that knife, while everybody's throwing. Yes, are you scared? And I expected the line, well, no, but I know the difference between facing my fears and absolute stupidity. I'm not going to walk in front of people throwing knives at targets.
Yeah, these military guys, these are the worst military ever, because you get a bunch of idiots who are going to do the most dangerous thing possible, regardless of whether it's sane or not. And apparently this makes a good military.
Yeah, it's not a matter of facing fear. It's doing the most stupidly dangerous shit you can think of at every point.
It's like they're trying. They have been reading a lot of fiction about super soldiers, or not literal super soldiers, but people who manage to by themselves take out an entire enemy platoon, and they're trying to create an entire army made of them, not realizing that even among people that you train to be idiots, only 1 or 2 of them is going to survive long enough to do that shit.
But as well as this, right, they have hand-to-hand combat training. It's the biggest thing of their first couple of days there. But then the fight it's not until somebody concedes. I realize this is a rule, but the fight isn't until concession. It's not until the fight is won. It's until the other person is unable to continue.
And they're like, yeah, if you never lose if you don't give up. And I'm like, that's technically true. A guy did win an Olympic game at wrestling after dying because he never gave up.
But if you're training a military force, I'm sorry, but everybody's going to have at least 10, and I mean at the very least 10 demonstration fights, actual sparring matches with somebody else. Now, if every one of them is until you're unable to proceed with the match, you're going to wipe out at least 80% of your military force doing that.
Yeah.
These guys are fucking morons. And
you're going to have a medical ward bigger than your barracks.
And you got one of the main characters who's like James Franco, but not played by James Franco. And one of his worst fears is his dad beating him. Now, okay, the film's trying to indicate this makes his dad like this horrible, horrific child abuser, but a lot of people get beaten by their parents and the children and at least some psychological scarring. Because you're a child, things get magnified. You know, big events when your children have effects in your life going on. And, it could well just be punishment. And considering the guy's played by Ray Stevenson, aka the best screen Punisher, I think we should err on the side of punishment.
Beatrice is scared of sex, and it's glanced over. It's like,
no, she was scared of rape.
The
guy was forcing.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was. But no, she was like, I want to take things slow. And it's like later, her biggest fear. Yes, we're going to have sex. No.
I think this indicates the author doesn't know the difference between rape and sex.
Well, if we look at Twilight and we look at the host, we know that Stephanie Meyer doesn't. If we look at 50 Shades of Grey, we know that person doesn't. They don't even know the difference between abuse and a relationship. But yeah, a lot of the authors of these books aimed at young women don't understand the difference between rape and sex. They also don't understand the difference between a relationship and stalking. If you're going to stalk something, no, I'm not going to give advice on that, you fucks. Storming a country, that's different. I will give advice on that.
Having fun?
Yes.
Do you know what my biggest nitpick of this was? Mm-hmm. It does specify that they've been in this little area for 100 years.
But they farm outside the wall.
No one fucking
That's obvious because there's no farmland inside. The point I'm making is, why didn't they fix the fucking buildings? They are literally living in ruins.
Because they're spending all of their time and resources on building electro guns and shining flags.
There is the sixth faction, builders.
Yes. That actually brings up the question, you know what, there's a giant zip line that goes from the top of one of the tallest buildings right down into this alleyway. And the zip line goes within inches of this big turbine, and it goes through a hole through a building where she has to actually go whoop.
If you're slightly larger than average, then, you're fucked.
Yeah. Or if that cable...
We're going to kill the crap ones, we want to kill the stupid ones, we're going to kill the ones who are too smart, and we want to kill the ones who are slightly too large.
I used to go mountain climbing
We're an efficient military.
I used to go mountain climbing and abseiling quite a lot whenever I was a bit younger. And one thing I can tell you is if a line like that gets wet, it sags and needs to be tightened.
Yep.
So what faction is going and repairing that giant zip line every so often?
That's what I'm saying. The faction list could have been put into the builders.
Yeah, the faction list could have been builders and artisans. They don't seem to have any sort of artistic representation.
Artistic is Divergent.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's why you buy your tattoos off the shelf, which is why his tattoo that represents the Divergence is kind of.
And this guy who's being Divergent is illegal, so this guy has is a Divergent, so he hides the fact by having his tattoo because all Dauntless need a tattoo. So he's got a massive fucking Divergent tattoo on his back. This is like a high up member of the SS trying to hide the fact that he's actually Jewish by having a massive Star of David on his back. Even if it's under clothes, someone's gonna see it at some point.
Remember, faction before. Yeah, of course they are, because everybody sleeps in the same damn room and showers in the same damn room, pisses in the same damn room. But
Brave.
remember, faction before blood. That's why we use our blood to choose our factions. Yeah, to choose your faction, after you do the hallucinogenic test, basically you take a lot of mushrooms, you sit in the chair, you get attacked by an imaginary dog.
And then the electric sorting hat tells you.
The electric sorting hat gives you a suggestion. The next day, you go and choose your faction, and you can choose what the sorting hat told you to do, or you can make your own damn choice, which is actually a nice idea. But you do this by walking up in front of everyone, cutting your hand open, with the same goddamn knife. There's gotta be a massive outbreak of Hep
They
C.
can cure AIDS at this point.
They've invented knives that are self-sterilizing and they can't build fucking new buildings.
That or between every selection, there was like a 5-minute break where they went and sterilized the knife.
Take all fucking day.
But in front of everybody, you walk up, you slice your hand open and drop your blood into like hot fiery coals or some sand or some water. And it's like, picking which faction. This is
And then
stupid!
And then, okay, they're in Chicago, and it's just to the city limits, and there's nothing else in the entire world. And then you got farms outside of it, so you got cornfields. But you got there for 100 years. Did no one go off to try and set up other colonies? Do the military not have like a base on the edge of where the farmland is? Because, if they're worried...
It's dangerous out there.
No, they man the walls.
If they're worried about...
And now my watch begins.
If they are worried about having people, outside because it's dangerous out there, surely you want a military presence on the outside of where your farms are, because the last thing you want to know whenever an enemy army comes to see you is when they've actually got past your farms
Killed
and
all
are at
your
your
farmers.
fucking wall.
Killed every single one of your food providers. But
This is insane. And then, towards the end, it's like a bunch of pacifists and 2 super soldiers who are really bad at being soldiers decide to single-handedly invade the base of the Dauntless ones. And to do that, they go into the training thing, which is to leap off a building, down...
No, to leap off a
several
train over a 6-foot gap onto the roof of a building, down a hole that's about 30 stories down.
And then onto a
he called the
net.
net.
Now, the net...
Which I see.
If this is the secret way into the Dauntless base, surely when they're not... Because this is the first test when you're an initiate to get to leap into the net, into the darkness, and land on the net.
If you fail that test, you can live on the roof forever.
So, surely, if this is their secret way into their base, when they're not training initiates, they don't have the net there, because this would mean that anyone who knew about this secret base would not be able to get into the base, because they'd be splattered across the floor!
Yeah, but
Yeah, I was thinking that surely that fucking net wouldn't be there.
It would have been a much more interesting end to the story.
Like, we're gonna win! Whee!
Also, sequel bit.
Also, mind control serum.
Yeah, they have electronic mind control stuff. You get injected with this liquid, and then over the internet they can control your mind. And yet they cannot fix a fucking skyscraper.
Yeah, I think they hinted that the little serums were supposed to be like nanomachines and some shit.
Where are
Because
they getting the water? Because they destroyed Lake Michigan's all completely dried out, and they got boats rotting in the middle of Lake Michigan.
They collect Dauntless piss and boil it. But that's another thing. The Dauntless base, right? The humble.
it looks like a salt mine.
The humble civil servant people. They live in all these sort of very humble, straight up houses.
Amish shit.
Yeah, no, it's like the most humble they can be. They have a rule where you can't look into a mirror for more than a minute a day or something.
Reject vanity!
Reject vanity. The blue people who are intelligent, they live in kind of fancy little
Evil Kate
apartments.
Winslet.
The farmers live on farms. I think we're never shown.
Yeah, they're sort of miles away. No one gives a shit about them.
The homeless people live conveniently in homeless places.
We have no idea what the white ones, the lawyers.
Yeah, the lawyers we don't know. But the Dauntless, they live in this cave.
Have you noticed how Four had a massive loft apartment?
Yeah. Four had an apartment bigger than the barracks for the initiates.
It's good to be commander. Actually, no, he's not even specified as being a commander.
No, he's lieutenant. He's
Jesus
And
Christ.
Jay Courtney and the guy
That or he's a staff sergeant.
and the black guy were the bosses.
But they live in a cave. Their mealtime involves sitting at a table and fighting people for the food from the middle. And
They just eat hamburgers without buns or anything else. Just hamburgers and baked potatoes.
it's ridiculous. It's like, hey, I give up my life in a kind of shitty, but livable house to come and live in a cave where I have no dignity and have to get naked in front of all these people and fight people until I'm broken apart and never see my family again and have my brother reject and hate me, and then we're going to invade. The gauntlets all get injected with mind serum and are caused to go and invade the civil servant people because the blue people have been saying they're breaking laws, all this donor food that they're supposed to be giving out to the homeless people, they're eating it. It's like, what? It's like, no, anybody with any investigative power could probably disprove that, because at no point in the narrative are we shown that to be happening.
Do you know, in all honesty, do you know what I was expecting? I was expecting Meryl Streep to be a Divergent all along.
That wasn't
and just
Meryl
being,
Streep, that was Kate Winslet.
You sure?
Yes, that was
Why did I
Kate
say
Winslet.
Meryl Streep?
I've seen her naked.
I was expecting her to be Divergent all along and just being power hungry and using the factions to further her
Yeah, that
cause.
would have made actual
That would have
sense.
made a better ending, in my
But their
opinion.
Deus Ex Machina, where she gets injected and gets mind controlled to stop everything, wouldn't have made sense. Even though it still doesn't make sense because she
Wouldn't she have conformed to the programming that we're holding the
Yeah, which
Dauntless
would have
as
been
well?
kill the other people. But apparently she can be given verbal commands while no one else can.
No. 4 magically knew how to use the mind control iPad.
Then he should have switched it off. But we gotta go. We have Pompeii to look at.
Yes.
Yay! It's gonna be shit.
Yeah.
Don't see this movie. It is shite and boring.